I make a distinct difference between Bitcoin and everything else, because the Bitcoin is the only thing that is decentralized and secure, and it's the only thing that will ever be decentralized and secure. Everything else becomes centralized.
In a recent broadcast of the Rich Dad radio show, host Robert Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, engaged in a thought-provoking discussion with Jeff Booth, a noted authority on technological advancements and economic trends. The conversation centered around the impact of technology on economic systems and the potential benefits it can bring to society. Kiyosaki and Booth explored the concept that technological progress, if leveraged correctly, has the inherent potential to reduce costs over time, contrary to the current trend of rising prices. This idea aligns with the theories of Buckminster Fuller, a renowned 20th century thinker and visionary. They emphasized that technology should ideally lead to widespread affordability and accessibility. A significant part of the conversation was dedicated to the role of Bitcoin in the modern economy. Booth highlighted Bitcoin's unique properties, especially its ability to retain value over time, unlike traditional currencies. He suggested that as technology advances, especially with the integration of artificial intelligence, Bitcoin could play a crucial role in facilitating more efficient and cost-effective economic transactions. Kiyosaki shared his personal experiences and philosophies, particularly his focus on providing financial education and resources to the public at minimal or no cost. He stressed the importance of creating value for others as a fundamental entrepreneurial principle. Both Kiyosaki and Booth conveyed a vision of a future where technology is not only a tool for economic growth, but also a means of fostering a more equitable and efficient society. They encouraged a re-evaluation of conventional perspectives on money and technology, advocating for a more inclusive and beneficial use of technological advancements.
Yeah, everything you said Fuller talked about generalized principles.
Yeah.
And generalized principles were the operating principles of God. And I'm not religious here because I don't want to get shot by Hamas or the Israelis. And so anyway, what you talk about is about Fuller's principles. The number one thing was ephemeralization was one of his principles. His ability to do more and more with less and less. So the price of tomorrow is about more and more with less and less, that everybody should be prosperous, except what Fuller I call them blood clots. And the blood clots are like J.P. Morgan and those guys who control our money supply, the Fed and those guys. And what we have is a growing gap today between rich and poor. And that gap is now dangerous. You know, the inflation is going through the roof due to pure intention or incompetence. And Jeff's book, The Price of Tomorrow, will explain how that does not have to be. So welcome to the program, Jeff.
Thanks, Robert. And just kind of building on that, I actually don't know why this is such a hard concept. It's not a hard concept for you. It's not a hard concept for me. It's actually the most simple concept in the world that says our technology or the free market is deflationary, period. Because prices fall to the marginal cost of production, and we invent things to create value, and we wouldn't use those things as purchasers or users of the services unless they provided more value than the thing that would existed before. So
right. Jeff, could you speak a little louder, because what you just said about prices.
Yeah.
Because you call it free market. I call it capitalism. My job is to bring a better product at a better price for more people.
And I think what's happening, Robert, is most people don't even understand the term capitalism anymore, because you're on top of manipulated money. It's only crony capitalism. It's not actual capitalism. The free market. That's why I used specifically the free market. There is no monopoly power in the free market. No monopolies. Because prices fall to the marginal cost of production. Your calculator app on your phone or your calculator is free today because the line of code creating it is the marginal cost of production is zero. And that's the same reason.
Can I explain something that you make very clear? When I was a kid, I'd go to the drugstore, I'd buy a roll of film, I put it in my camera, I'd take the pictures, I had to take it back to the drugstore, and they'd pay to process it. today on this iPhone, what you say, there's billions of pictures being taken,
Yeah.
and nobody's going to the drugstore anymore.
Yeah, and so that should, all things being equal, if technology. So the problem is people are measuring technology almost like a vector instead of a base layer, right? And they're saying, okay, well, that makes sense in my photos, that makes sense in my music, that makes sense in my calculator, that makes sense here, but these other things should go up in price. And the only reason things are going up in price is your money is going down in value. It's being debased. And in fact, if you carry that thread forward, if you just said, and this is why we talk about Bitcoin, and I know you're a huge proponent of Bitcoin, if you just said simply, these things are true. Prices fall to the marginal cost of production. There is no regulation in the world that could stop that over a long enough time horizon. Because what happens if you regulate a market, then it's competed with outside of your market, and prices still fall, and then your market becomes uncompetitive. So no matter what.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
See, today, everybody's talking about inflation. And what your book, The Price of Tomorrow, is saying, capitalism brings deflation.
Deflation.
We should be providing more and more products for less and less price.
And every year people would be able to get more and by working less. That's what the world would look, all over the world. That's what the world would look like, because that's what technology does. So prices fall to marginal cost of production. We have exponentially increasing productivity, as defined by what you talked about, the photos, everything else. We can see it all around us. What is the cost of production of a line of code created by other lines of code? And then you can see where AI is going to take us. It all goes to zero. And then logically, if those two things are true, then prices should be falling exponentially. And the only thing that can measure those prices falling exponentially is Bitcoin, because it's the only thing without counterparty risk to the existing system we live in. So the only thing that can measure prices falling to the marginal cost of production is Bitcoin, because because it's fixed in number of units, and prices fall against it. So most people are measuring the world through they're debasing currency, and they're measuring Bitcoin like Bitcoin prices going up, when it's just showing you physics. It's showing you the truth. It's showing you all prices falling relative to it, as the free market imposes that discipline, no matter what anybody does.
Right. So entrepreneurs, your number one job is to produce a better product for a better price to serve more people. That's ephemeralization. That was Bucky Fuller. And he kicked my ass 81, 82, and 83, because I had these old ideas in my head that I would raise my prices and make more money. He says, your job is to make a better product for a better price, and then you'll make money. I'm going, what? It's so counterintuitive, counter to what our schools teach us.
Right.
Exactly. And so back there is the board game. So after kicking my butt, and after reading Grunch of Giants, which is how our money is stolen via our academic system also, I read that. I went, oh my God. So my wife Kim and I created this board game so we could teach more people for free.
Right.
And today that board game, Jeff, floats in space for free, teaching financial education.
Awesome.
And now I have a serious problem: too much money. That's why I want to talk to you about your fund, because I got to move some money someplace.
well, funny enough, Robert, just in that, if you just said the free market is imposing its discipline and it's repricing everything else, and no matter what, no matter what governments do, essentially, if you said, what would a dishonest ledger that only it steals your money, what would that dishonest ledger say about an honest ledger that is Bitcoin? And that's why it actually doesn't matter what anybody says about it. It's imposing its will. 3.5 years ago, my house cost $1.4 million, and now is $2.1 million. But my house in Bitcoin cost 300 Bitcoin, and now it's 40 Bitcoin. So in Bitcoin, it's measuring everything falling. everything falling, and will continue to do so. And now, so what would happen if that is moving forward and most people don't know it's becoming the new peer-to-peer internet? You'd have a whole bunch of entrepreneurs building on top of the honest ledger that are creating value to bring on billions of people onto the new system in transition. And so that's where we're investing. And I can't believe how successful it is. I cannot believe how it's actually, I remember building on the internet early and thinking the smartest people in the world are here building. And this is an order of magnitude greater. This is actually it's so powerful. It's so exciting that I can't believe people are measuring their life through the system that's decaying and spending more time and energy fighting it. They should just move their time into the one that's moving to abundance.
Do you have any, last year, I was invited to Arizona State University, one of the largest educational institutions in America. And I did a talk on capitalism. I was teaching their honor students capitalism. And the professors came after me. And so it's, Jeff, 1 year ago, it was like I wrote a book on the future called Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
By the way, all my kids have read it.
Yeah. I'm standing up there. The kids are cheering me on. The teachers are attacking me. The professors are, 39 of them. I'm going, wait a minute. All I'm teaching is exactly what Jeff is saying. You can do so much more for so much less for more and more people. If you do that, God or the economy will reward you. And this fund you're creating, that's what you're doing.
That's right.
All you're focusing on is how to do more and more for less and less. And the richer you get, then you have the same problem. Too much money. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And here's the thing. The output of that work creates more value for more people.
Yes.
Which is, and the point is, and prices fall as a result. So more people are empowered by the value. And if you can't protect that value with essentially manipulating money to create a monopoly, then what ends up happening is prices keep falling to people, and you have to constantly innovate to be able to deliver more value.
Yes.
And so
everything. Please say that again. You have to constantly innovate. Please say that again.
Yeah, you have to constantly innovate, because what ends up happening is when the thing goes to free, like your calculator app, no entrepreneurs chase that anymore because it's already free. So they move on. They move on to create value where things cost money to give you more value. The output of that work saves your time, everybody's time on this planet. So what you have today is you have a system that is extracting the wealth that should be flowing to society in the form of lower prices to make government, institutions, all of these things bigger. And then you have most people that are their pockets are picked from that same system, making it stronger because they're living in just such pain. And so they're giving more and more attention to government or these institutions and fighting it, when all they would need to do is walk across to an open network called Bitcoin and forget it about all of it. And the new system would move faster.
Well, we're going to go to a break in a few minutes, but there's a couple other questions then. I like what you say. It causes you to constantly innovate. Like, people have tried to knock off my board game, but it's now for free.
Exactly.
All I'm doing is following a generalized principle of God, bucket full of the Great Spirit. Give it away. And Jeff, my problem is too much money.
Love it.
I'm not bragging. I'm going, when I booked your show, I said, oh, good, because I need to put more money into Bitcoin. I'm not going to put it in the bank. I'm going to put it into Bitcoin, because of that, exactly what you said was $21 million. But also it's the technology of blockchain. And then you add to that AI. And my question to you, what is AI going to do to blockchain? Or I've heard such things as blockchain could take out the World Wide Web. I'm a technological dinosaur. I have no idea.
Yeah. So
we'll go to a break, but I want you to come back in and talk about this need to continually innovate because of what you can see coming in the future. And again, this is Bucky Fuller. This book was was published posthumously. He had it on his desk when he died, and they finally published it. And I struggled to read it. I don't recommend it, but your book is easier to read. When we come back, we'll be talking about how a person stays ahead, not ahead of the future, but in sync with the future. So when we come back, we'll be talking to Jeff Booth. His book is The Price of Tomorrow. He is today's futurist, and I'm honored to have him on the Rich Dad Show. We'll be right back.
I make a distinct difference between Bitcoin and everything else, because the Bitcoin is the only thing that is decentralized and secure, and it's the only thing that will ever be decentralized and secure. Everything else becomes centralized. So if you had centralized money, and think about through the long history of time, if you could control money, then that what it means, and the market has always been deflationary. The free market has always been deflationary. If you got to control money,
hang on. Prices are supposed to come down, not go up.
Exactly, not go up.
And today we have high inflation because guys like Biden and the banks are manipulating to keep prices up. And when prices go up, it causes poverty and discontent.
Right. But keep following that trend. So prices are supposed to go down in the free market. And there's always been a human element, because if you could control money, then that what means you get to steal the productivity of all of humanity and transit for it to you. So that's what Bucky Fuller was actually talking about. This is the natural law that prices should fall. And but human greed it creates this system where you could never allow that to happen, because governments and or people would rise to the top and always control money, because they got a free handout from doing nothing on the backs of the entire global population producing productivity. So that's why gold always failed, because it had to be centralized. And once you could centralize it, then you could change the rules of gold. So constantly throughout history, that would fail. Now Bitcoin, then you have to ask about Bitcoin. Could it actually exist in a decentralized and secure format? And what would that look like? So most of my research, most of my deep was, how could this exist? Could it actually, if you thought a system was so powerful against you, and all of that system would come and attack Bitcoin, and what would they say? What would they do? How could they kill it? All of my research tried to come in and disprove my hypothesis. And what I found is Bitcoin gets more decentralized and more secure every year, and it can't be stopped. And then
it can't be stopped.
It can't be stopped. It will not be stopped. It's imposing that discipline. And every other blockchain that says, I do this, I do this, I do this, is trying to steal the kind of, I can move fast, but they all centralize. They have to centralize. And by centralizing, then people say, I'm going to offer decentralized finance on top of a centralized blockchain. Now think about that for a moment. It makes no sense. You would just use a database, because a database is much cheaper than a blockchain. So when people say blockchain, I want to pull my hair out. It's only Bitcoin, and everything else is completely nonsense. And then, because what that does is it forces prices to fall for everybody. It forces the removal of theft in money to everybody. And then now if you add on AI to that, all AI is faster and faster, more technology moving faster, meaning prices should fall faster for everybody. And if you're measuring that in Bitcoin, prices are going to fall very fast if you're measuring in Bitcoin. But if you're measuring in any other currency, US dollar, Argentina, peso, any other currency, your rate of theft from the natural laws of physics, natural laws of economies, natural law of the free market, the rate of theft that you're paying to be able to live in that system and price everything from that system is picking your pocket and making it stronger. And nothing can stop that rate of theft, because it needs to keep on going, because we have debt that can't be repaid. It's financial repression.
Correct. That's what you're saying is like anybody starting these other crypto coins, they're like Sam Bankman-Fried.
All of them. All of them. But by the way, human nature, because it's you could create so much greed and power by manipulating people. Everybody tries.
Jeff, I love you. I love you. I love you, man. Because
Right back
I
at
mean,
you.
all these years I've been like this goofy guy in the woods saying prices are supposed to come down, do more, ephemeralize more with less. Fuller talked about lag time, all the things, leverage. And now it's happening, but we're caught in this quandary. Like I said, these 39 professors, these woke professors from Arizona State University, shut me down because they're so afraid of losing their jobs. I'm going, they're just like my poor dad. And they were the
So,
guys teaching our kids.
so you just carry this forward into exactly what you're saying, and this is actually why I spend very little time talking about that existing system. I've moved all my time into the new system. What I realized is the broken money that steals your money is what funds all of those people, and so most will people believe that that works. Essentially, you could create more wealth in the world by creating more paper units of money, more digital units of money. Well, people believe that they will give it more power, and all of those essentially, and I don't. Many of those economists and professors don't even actually know what we're talking about. They're
No,
just so into the system that, but again, that's why I focus on the first principles, because because every economist would say prices fall to the marginal cost of production. They know that. But then they go straight into, but prices are supposed to be made to rise. Well, how do they rise? Because we manipulate money. And nobody talks about it. It's so insane. And so you have an entire educational system. You have an entire regulatory, you have a regulatory system to protect your money from a system designed to steal your money.
correct. And when I understood what Fuller was saying, because of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, this is a true story. My poor dad was a part of that system.
Right.
And that's why when I looked into the system, there was a thing called the General Education Board created in the 1930s. It was headed by the Rockefellers, and they took control of education. And that's why there's no financial education in our schools,
Yeah.
because the rich like it that people are stupid financially.
Yeah.
Like I've been sending out this video of this guy walking around with a silver bar and bars of Hershey chocolate saying, which one do you want? And they all take the bars of chocolate.
So
And
here,
that's how stupid the American public is.
yeah. So, but here's why you, because yelling at that system or strengthening that system by yelling at it actually makes it stronger. That's happening in Bitcoin and all of what people are moving at, they're using their time to make the new system better, and that time
Yes.
is really important, and it can't be stopped. And so,
Yes.
so the less time you're spending, I'll give you an example in the Magnificent Seven today in tech. So the tech returns in Magnificent, if there wasn't tech returns, the type of returns from the top 7 tech stocks.
Oh, wait, I got repeat that whole thing. I didn't hear it.
Yeah. So the Magnificent Seven tech returns, right? So everybody talks about how Google, Facebook, or Meta, Amazon, and everything else. Those companies are effectively all of the S&P growth is in those companies. Now think about this for a moment. So all of the market is putting their money into those companies. Well, those companies remove labor at a rate to give you more value because you use their product, because it gives you so much value. So all of the money is making it stronger and stronger and stronger as they create AI, essentially AI overlords over you. And you're making that stronger by trying to protect your money, by trying to protect your purchasing power into a unit that's destroying it. And so it's ludicrous to me. All of these things, people are picking up pennies in front of the steamroller inside a system that is actually creating the same pain that they're worried about, and they're making it stronger as a result. And if they and measure Bitcoin against any one of those companies, measure Bitcoin against your houses, measure Bitcoin against energy, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's sucking the energy out of the entire global financial system into an honest ledger. And I can't believe more people aren't doing it.
So what's your future for AI? Because I have no technology background at all. And, Musk issues his warnings and all that. What would Jeff Booth say about AI?
So there is no risk from AI in a system where the abundance from AI flows to you in the form of lower prices. Why do you think? Why do you think? Why do you think Musk, Amazon, Apple? Why do you think all of these people are trying to get regulatory capture for AI? There is no fear of AI in a system where AI enables us and prices fall. The only risk in AI is if it's controlled, and why regulatory capture is trying to control AI is trying to drive you into fear to be able to create a system where AI controls you. There is literally it's two worlds. You're going to live in a fiat world where AI controls you in service of the big AI companies and government, or you're going to live in Bitcoin where AI frees you. It's that
So,
stark.
so fundamentally, okay, to prove I practice what I preach, that board gate came out 25 years ago, and we used all our money to give it away for free. So we did what we're supposed, according to Fuller, as capitalists, we did what we're supposed to do.
Right.
So are you saying what our job is to, what they call ephemeralize, do more and more for less and less. Don't raise your prices. Have your prices come down to serve more people. As entrepreneurs, what I'm saying.
Yeah, but what I would say is that system can't work because our existing money is so broken, it won't work.
Right.
It concentrates all the product. If you create a great company in the existing system, then there needs to be more money printed to steal the productivity that you just gave to society, and it has to flow upwards. And so only in Bitcoin is the free market actually a free market. That's what's happening. And effectively, you can, if you own a Bitcoin in self-custodial wallet and it's decentralized and secure, then what that means is all of the future technology gains, everything all over the world that is created is actually flowing to you in the form of lower prices.
Wow. Jeff, my friend, I want to thank you for being the next Bucky Fuller coming up. And if you don't mind, again, we make Rich Dad makes no stock recommendations, investment recommendations. Would you be willing to talk about the funds you've created, or is that private?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to. We created a venture capital fund called Ego Death Capital. Ego Death Capital, and it's the idea behind that is the changes are so great. The changes from society and what that means are so great on this new layer that it forces you to rewrite your rules and how the free market works. And so we wanted to create a fund that helps entrepreneurs do that, and it's been so successful. So we're going to raise a new fund. The first fund was just shy of $30 million, and I can't believe how successful this is, and how I get to spend my time with the greatest entrepreneurs on the planet, creating the rails for billions of people onto this network. And so we're going to raise a new fund shortly, and love to have you in it, or
I'm in it. We make no recommendations, but I'm in. No, it's really quite simple. I invest with the entrepreneur, not the project.
I'm the same. Yeah.
Tremendous respect for you. How do other people follow you? I mean, that's the question people always ask.
Probably the best, because there's, again, tied to AI. There's so many. There's so much fraud out there today too. So check out my website at jeffbooth.ca, and if I haven't listed where to follow, like on Twitter, my handle is at Jeff Booth, but there's so many scammers on it too, that I'm on it very less. And I'm on a new a decentralized network called Noster. But I keep up to date anything that I'm on. And if you don't see it on my website at jeffbooth.ca, it's not me.
Okay. My friend, thank you. It's been an honor after all these years. Everybody get his book, The Price of Tomorrow. And it's really nice to meet the present day Bucky Fuller, because he was my teacher. And boy, he kicked my butt when he asked me, he says, what's your life's purpose? Says, to get rich. And he's in front of 100 people. He scolded me. This is in Kirkwood, California, a ski resort. And he says, you're supposed to make life better for people, not make yourself rich. And it was such,
I love what you just said, because
yeah,
that's, and you get rich in the process, and you get rich
yes,
broadly, not just narrowly, and you get rich in a process broadly by in service of other people.